The impossible signal. The Galactic Empire had ruled the stars for thousands of years. Its fleets were everywhere. Its laws were absolute, and no species dared to resist. Nothing surprised the Empire anymore, until the signal appeared. It began as a weak pulse at the edge of controlled space. At first, the sensors ignored it. Strange signals were common in deep space, but this one did not fade. It grew stronger, cleaner, more focused. On Command Station Varn, officers gathered around the main screen. The signal repeated again and again, using no known alien code. It was structured, intelligent, and calm. "This is impossible," one officer said. "No known species uses this pattern." The scanners finally translated part of it. Not a full message, just one word: human. The room went silent. Humans were a myth, a forgotten species erased from history centuries ago. They were weak, divided, and primitive. The Empire had destroyed their homeworld and hunted the survivors. The records said humans were extinct. So why was a human signal echoing across space? The Empire traced the source. It was coming from a single ship, small, alone, moving toward Imperial space without fear. The ship's design confused the engineers. It looked simple, almost crude. No heavy armor, no visible weapons, yet its energy readings were impossible. The power output was higher than an Imperial battleship. That should not be possible, a scientist whispered. A ship that size would tear itself apart. But the ship did not slow down. The Empire sent a warning: unknown vessel, stop immediately or be destroyed. There was no response. Instead, the signal grew stronger, clearer, more confident. Fleet Command ordered a blockade. 10 warships moved into position, weapons charged and ready. Victory should have been instant. The human ship crossed the border. Space bent around it. Sensors failed. Weapons systems shut down without warning. One by one, Imperial ships lost power. No explosions, no chaos, just silence and drifting steel. Panic spread through the command room. Officers shouted orders that no longer mattered. "How is this happening?" Someone screamed. The human ship stopped. A communication channel opened. For the first time, the Empire heard a human voice. It was calm, controlled, almost polite. "We detected your signal," the voice said. "You have entered our path." The Emperor himself stepped forward. "This is Imperial space," he said. "You have no right to be here." The human paused. "Your records say we are extinct." The voice replied, "Your records are wrong." Across the galaxy, alarms began to ring. Old battle stations reactivated. Hidden human colonies revealed themselves. The impossible signal was not a warning. It was a call. The human ship powered down its field. The Imperial fleet regained control, but no one attacked. Fear had replaced pride. The Emperor understood the truth too late. Humans had not disappeared. They had learned. They had adapted. They had waited. The signal echoed again, spreading beyond Imperial space. "We are still here," the human voice said, "and this time, we are not alone." The Empire had ruled the galaxy without challenge. But now, the stars carried a new message. The impossible signal had changed everything. The fear behind the silence. The Empire did not attack the human ship. That alone shocked the galaxy. Imperial fleets were trained to destroy first and ask later. But this time, no weapons fired. The commanders waited, watching the quiet human vessel float near their space. Inside the Imperial archives, old doors opened. Files sealed for centuries were unlocked. Only the highest ranks were allowed to read them. The truth about humans was buried deep. Long ago, humans were not powerful. They had weak ships, slow travel, and broken politics. At first, the Empire ignored them. That was the first mistake. When the Empire finally attacked Earth, they expected surrender. Instead, humans fought back, not with strength, but with ideas. They used traps. They used sacrifice. They turned losses into lessons. For every battle they lost, they learned something new. Human ships exploded, but their data survived. Human cities fell, but their people escaped. The Empire won every war on paper, but the cost was growing. Human weapons improved fast. Human tactics changed every time. They never fought the same way twice. Imperial generals grew nervous. No enemy had ever adapted so quickly, so the Empire made a choice. They did not conquer humanity. They tried to erase it. Earth was destroyed. Colonies were burned. Survivors were hunted. And yet, humans never sent a message of surrender. The records showed one final human transmission, short and clear. "We will remember." Now, centuries later, the impossible signal returned. In the command chamber, the Emperor studied the human ship. It had not attacked again. It had not threatened anyone. It was waiting. Why come back now? An advisor asked. If they wanted revenge, they would already be killing us. The Emperor said nothing. He remembered the old reports. Humans never rushed. Scouts were sent to track the signal's echoes. What they found caused fear across the Empire. Hidden bases, silent stations, human technology woven into asteroids and empty space. Humans had survived by becoming invisible. They did not build empires, they built networks. The impossible signal was spreading. Other species were hearing it. Some recognized the pattern. Some remembered old human kindness. The Empire realized something too late. Humans were not calling for war. They were calling for witnesses. In the human ship, a small crew watched the galaxy respond. They spoke little. Their mission was simple. Let the truth be seen. The Empire sent another message. Softer this time. What do you want? The reply came slowly, carefully. We want balance. You ruled through fear. We learned through loss. The Emperor felt something unfamiliar. Doubt. Reports arrived from border worlds. Imperial soldiers refused orders. Allied species questioned loyalty. The silence after the signal was louder than any battle. The Empire had believed humans were weak. That mistake was old, but its shadow was long. Humans did not return with fleets. They returned with proof. Proof that survival was victory, that patience was power. As the human ship drifted deeper into Imperial space, one truth became clear. The impossible signal was only the beginning, and the Empire's greatest fear was not human weapons. It was what humans had become. When one ship was enough, the Empire could not stay silent anymore. Fear was spreading faster than the signal itself. Worlds were watching. Allies were doubting. The Emperor made his decision. Destroy the human ship. He ordered. Show the galaxy our power. Within hours, the strongest Imperial fleet ever assembled moved into position. Thousands of warships, carriers, destroyers, and planet killers. Enough firepower to erase a solar system. Against them stood one human ship. Still small, still quiet, still alone. Imperial commanders felt confident again. Numbers had always won wars. Open fire. The fleet admiral commanded. Energy weapons lit the darkness of space. Missiles screamed forward. The attack was unstoppable. The human ship did not dodge. It did not raise shields. It simply moved forward. Then space changed. Sensors screamed and died. Target locks vanished. Weapons systems froze. Time around the human ship slowed. Imperial shots stretched and bent, missing their target by impossible margins. What is happening? The admiral shouted. The human ship passed through the attack like it was nothing. As it moved, invisible waves spread outward. One Imperial ship lost power, then another, then dozens more. No explosions, no fire, just silence. Entire battleships went dark, drifting like dead metal. The fleet tried to retreat, but their engines failed. Their systems refused to respond. Panic replaced discipline. This is not a weapon, a scientist cried. It's control. The human ship finally stopped. Right in the center of the fleet, a communication channel opened again. The human voice returned, calm and steady. We are not here to destroy you, it said. We are here to show you. The Empire demanded answers. What are you? The admiral asked. The reply was simple. We are human. Suddenly, the disabled ships came back online. One by one, weapons still offline, engines still locked. The message was clear. Humans could end this battle at any moment, but they chose not to. Across the galaxy, observers watched in shock. A single human ship had defeated the Empire's greatest fleet. Without firing a single shot, the Emperor understood the truth. Human strength was not in size or numbers. It was in understanding. They had studied alien physics, learned enemy systems, turned knowledge into power. This was not revenge. This was a demonstration. The human ship transmitted one final message to the fleet. We remember what you did. We remember Earth, but we also remember mercy. The ship began to move again, passing through the broken fleet, leaving it alive, but humbled. Imperial officers stood in silence, their pride shattered, their future uncertain. The galaxy had seen the impossible. One human ship was enough. As the human vessel disappeared into deep space, a new fear settled over the Empire. If one ship could do this, what would happen when humanity arrived in full? And for the first time in its long history, the Empire waited, not for victory, but for judgment. The Empire starts to break. The Empire survived the battle, but it did not survive the message. Across the galaxy, the story spread fast. One human ship had stopped the greatest Imperial fleet, not with destruction, but with control. Worlds that once feared the Empire began to question it. If the Empire could not protect itself, how could it rule others? Imperial commanders tried to hide the truth. They edited reports. They silenced witnesses. But it was too late. Too many eyes had seen everything. On border planets, soldiers refused orders. They remembered old wars. They remembered broken promises. And now they remembered humans. Trade routes slowed. Taxes went unpaid. Entire systems stopped responding. The Empire had ruled through fear, and fear was fading. The Emperor called an emergency council. The room was filled with tension. Advisors argued loudly. Generals blamed each other. We must strike the human worlds. One general said, before they strike us. But where are their worlds? Another asked, we cannot find them. That silence was dangerous. Human presence appeared everywhere and nowhere. Hidden stations activated and vanished. Old satellites woke up and sent data. Humans were not invading. They were watching. On many planets, enslaved species received quiet messages, coordinates, supply drops, escape routes. Chains broke without battles. Prison camps emptied overnight. The Empire lost control piece by piece. The Emperor reviewed ancient records again. He saw the same pattern repeating. Humans never rushed. They waited for systems to fail on their own. This is not war, he whispered. This is collapse. Meanwhile, the human ship returned to the shadows, but its signal remained, steady, calm, impossible to block. Other species began to answer it, not with weapons, but with hope. The Empire sent diplomats. They offered peace. They offered trade. They offered apologies. No response came. Imperial citizens started to panic. News spread through hidden channels. The Empire was no longer eternal. Some worlds declared independence. Others prepared defenses. A few chose to side with humans openly. The Imperial fleet still existed, but it no longer moved as one. Orders were questioned. Commands were delayed. Fear had changed direction. The Emperor stood alone in his chamber, looking at the stars his empire once owned. He finally understood the human strategy. Humans were not here to rule. They were here to end rule by fear. A final report arrived. More systems had gone dark. Not destroyed, just free. The human signal shifted slightly, not louder, but closer. The Emperor closed his eyes, knowing the truth. The Empire was still alive, but its time was ending, and somewhere in the dark, humanity was deciding, not how to win, but what kind of galaxy would come next. Humanity's choice. The Empire was still standing, but it was no longer strong. Its fleets were silent. Its worlds were divided. Its people were afraid. The Emperor knew the end was close, not because of human weapons, but because of human patience. The impossible signal changed one last time. It was no longer a warning. It was an invitation. A single location was sent. Neutral space. No fleets, no armies, only leaders. The Emperor arrived alone. No guards, no weapons. For the first time in his life, he felt small. The human ship appeared. The same simple design, the same quiet power. A human delegation stepped forward. Men and women, different ages, different worlds. They did not look angry. They did not look proud. They looked tired. We did not come for revenge, a human leader said. Revenge ends nothing. The Emperor lowered his head. Then why return? He asked. The human paused. Because the galaxy deserves better. The Emperor spoke of history, of fear, of control, of survival. The human listened, then replied, we survived too. Humans explained their choice. They would not rule the galaxy. They would not replace the Empire. Instead, the Empire would end, peacefully or painfully. That decision was not human. It was the galaxy's. The Empire's military command was removed. Not destroyed, just disabled. Enslaved species were freed. Borders were erased. Old debts forgiven. The human signal became a network, a shared system of defense and warning, open to all, controlled by none. The Emperor signed the final order, ending the Empire officially. His hands shook, but his voice did not. I was taught humans were weak, he said. I was wrong. The human leader shook his head. No, he said. You were wrong about strength. Humans did not celebrate. They did not build statues. They returned to the shadows once more. But this time, they were not hiding. Across the galaxy, new alliances formed. Old enemies talked. Fear slowly faded. The impossible signal still existed, but now it carried a different meaning. It was not a threat, it was a promise that no single power would rule again. That knowledge would be shared, that survival would not require cruelty. On a quiet human world, children learned about Earth, about loss, about patience. They were taught one simple lesson: never strike first, but always be ready. The galaxy remembered humanity's return, not for destruction, but for choice, and the truth echoed among the stars. Humans were never extinct, they were becoming, and when the impossible signal finally faded, it left behind something stronger than fear: hope. After the signal, the galaxy was quiet. After the Empire fell, too quiet. Trade routes reopened, borders vanished. Old enemies talked instead of fought. Many believed peace had finally arrived, but humans knew better. Peace was not an ending, it was a beginning. While the galaxy rebuilt, humans watched, not from thrones, not from fleets, but from hidden stations and distant worlds. They had learned long ago that power attracts danger. On one remote human outpost, analysts studied deep space. New signals appeared every day. Most were harmless, some were not. One signal stood out. It did not match the Empire. It did not match any known species. It was old, older than the Empire itself. Human scientists grew uneasy. This signal was not answering the impossible signal, one said. It was waiting for it to end, far beyond known space. Something had noticed the change. For ages, it had slept, letting younger species rise and fall. The Empire had been loud, aggressive, predictable. Humanity was different. Humans did not dominate, they connected. That made them dangerous. The unknown watchers sent probes. Silent and invisible, they studied human networks, the shared defense systems, the free worlds. What are they? The watchers asked. A threat or a tool? Back in the galaxy, small conflicts began to appear. Not wars, just tests. Pirate fleets used strange technology. Independent worlds lost power for minutes at a time. Navigation maps shifted without reason. Humans noticed the pattern. This is not random, a human commander said. Someone is learning. The impossible signal returned, but this time, it was private. Human-only channels, emergency priority. The message was short. We are not alone. Human leaders gathered, not in fear, but in focus. They had faced extinction before. They had faced empires. Now they faced something unknown. Humans made a choice again. They did not hide the truth. The signal expanded, inviting all free species to listen. There are forces beyond our history, the human message said. They are watching. We will not fight alone. Some worlds panicked, others hesitated, but many remembered the Empire. They remembered who freed them. Alliances formed naturally, not by force, but by trust. In the dark space beyond, the Watchers reacted. Humans were not supposed to share power. They were supposed to rule or fall. These creatures do neither, the Watchers observed. They adapt socially. That frightened them more than weapons. The Watchers sent a final test. A massive structure appeared near the edge of known space. Not attacking, just existing. A challenge. Human ships arrived first, not with guns ready, but with shields active and signals open. Behind them came ships of many species, different shapes, different histories, one direction. The galaxy stood together. The Watchers hesitated. This was not expected. Humanity had changed the rules again. The future was no longer about who ruled the stars. It was about who stood together in the dark. And as the new signal echoed outward, one truth became clear. The impossible signal was never about power. It was about connection. And the universe was only beginning to respond.